There's a ton we don't know about the upcoming Fast X Part 2, but there are also some things we do know. For instance, Vin Diesel's new tease for Fast and Furious 11 is making me even more confident that this risky character is coming back. And what old trends the franchise really needs to shake up after the issues we saw in Fast X. So let's dive into everything we know about the upcoming Fast X Part 2. Fast and Furious 11 is gearing up to be the last chapter in this epic franchise, and Vin Diesel is dropping hints about a character return that's got me feeling a bit torn. Not much has been revealed about Fast 11, but we do know it'll be a direct sequel to the last movie, where Dom and the crew faced off against the new villain Dante Reyes, son of Hernan Reyes from Fast 5. It's all about revenge and justice, and it looks like everything is set to come to a climax in the next film. Recently, the Fast and Furious franchise has been on a roll with bringing back characters that we thought were long gone. First, we saw Han Lu return in F9, whose death in Tokyo Drift was undone after 15 years, and then Giselle Yashar made a surprise comeback at the end of Fast X. There are even whispers about Devon Aoki's Suki from Too Fast, Too Furious making a return. While some of these decisions have sparked debate, it seems like they might be building towards a huge reunion for the final installment. Vin Diesel recently shared a heartfelt tribute to his late friend Paul Walker, who portrayed Brian O'Connor in the first half of the Fast and Furious franchise. After Walker's tragic death in a car accident, Brian's character was written out of the story in Furious 7. However, Vin's post includes the line, "I will have to brace myself for this next film," which has me thinking he's hinting that Brian might make a comeback. This post feels like a strong tease for Brian's return, and fans have been speculating about it for a while now. Brian has been such a vital part of this franchise from the start, and while Toretto is the main character now, it wouldn't really feel right to wrap up this story without O'Connor being involved in some way. Even though he hasn't been around, his character still exists in the Fast and Furious universe, and the franchise has used CGI to bring him back before. This tease isn't really a shocker though, since there have been plenty of hints about Brian's return scattered throughout the recent Fast and Furious films. From Toretto naming his kid after his old buddy, to conversations about where Brian is now, and even the sighting of his car at the end of F9, it all points to him still being in the picture. That last detail is definitely the strongest clue that Brian is still around and keeps in touch with his friends. Even after Walker's tragic passing, the Fast and Furious series has always acknowledged that Brian was a key player in the franchise. Although he's not physically present, his spirit has been felt in every sequel since Furious 7, whether through emotional chats or little Easter eggs that remind us he's still part of the crew. Wrapping up the franchise without addressing these nods would be a huge missed opportunity, leaving the most significant character's storyline hanging. Bringing Brian back in Fast and Furious 11 is definitely a risky move. Using CGI to recreate Walker's likeness would spark a lot of debate, but it's not something new. The franchise did it at the end of Furious 7, and it's becoming more common in Hollywood. Just look at how Star Wars has brought back Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher using similar technology, or how Alien Romulus revived Ian Holm. While Brian's emotional farewell at the end of Furious 7 felt like a fitting end, the series has dropped hints about him since then, suggesting his story isn't really over. Sure, there would likely be some backlash if they went this route, but it's tough to imagine wrapping up the franchise without Brian O'Connor playing at least a part. Ignoring his character in Fast and Furious 11 after all those hints would definitely be a major letdown. That said, to truly shine, Fast and Furious 11 needs to break the trend of escalating stunts and action with each new installment. Sure, the big explosions and crazy set pieces are a blast, but they've been a major issue for the franchise lately, overshadowing the core of what made it great. Instead of going all out with the visual effects, Fast 11 has a golden opportunity to return to its roots by focusing on character development and relationships. Fast X struggled because beneath the chaos of car chases and blasts, there wasn't much of a story. It was supposed to be the grand finale, yet it gave audiences little reason to invest in this journey. The final film should prioritize the characters we've grown to love since the beginning, wrapping up their arcs in meaningful ways and giving them the send-offs they deserve. While there's a lot to look forward to in Fast 11, swapping out character moments for bigger stunts could really hurt the film. For years now, the trend in Fast and Furious movies has been to raise the stakes higher and higher. This has caused the franchise to drift away from the grounded storytelling of its early days, often leading to convoluted plots and fan service retcons. While this approach worked for a while, Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6 were crucial in reviving the series, it's now starting to feel excessive. Furious 7 managed to balance family drama with high-octane action, but its box office success sent the wrong signal to the studios. Since then, the series has leaned heavily into its wild, over-the-top action, losing the relatable essence that first drew audiences in. The recent films have undone character deaths, strained relationships, and stretched reality to the point where they barely resemble the original movies anymore. If Fast and Furious 11 wants to resonate with fans, it needs to reconnect with that earlier spirit. The decline in quality for the Fast and Furious franchise can be largely attributed to its skyrocketing budget. Ever since Furious 7 climbed the ranks to become one of the highest-grossing films of all time, the money thrown at these movies has dramatically increased. This shift allowed for more stunts, explosions, and cars, but sadly it came at the cost of storytelling. The issues began surfacing with the fate of the Furious, but became glaringly obvious in Fast X. That film felt a bit lost, struggling to grasp what the audience wanted, leading to the approach of going bigger and bolder without much thought. Sure, Dante's over-the-top personality kept things entertaining, but the emotional core just wasn't there. Unlike Furious 7, which had the weight of Paul Walker's Brian O'Connor to give it depth, Fast X assumes viewers will care simply because it's loud and flashy. Fortunately, there's still a chance for Fast 11 to return to its roots and provide a satisfying ending to this epic saga. Instead of ramping up the explosions and high stakes, it would be refreshing for the series to slow down, step out of the cars, and focus on the character conflicts that have been building throughout the franchise. The cliffhanger in Fast X left Dom Toretto and his son in serious danger from Dante, who's now set his sights on Dwayne Johnson's Agent Hobbs. Thankfully, this conflict can be easily resolved early on in Fast 11, allowing the crew to tie up all loose ends without feeling rushed. There's ample opportunity for Dom, Letty, and the rest to find resolution in their arcs without the entire film being about battling Dante. That said, some fans might feel let down if the series eases off the gas too much at this crucial moment. It's essential for the franchise to strike a balance, maintaining the spectacular action while not relying solely on it. Hopefully, Fast 11 can successfully merge these two filmmaking styles, celebrating the entire journey of the franchise rather than just the more recent installments. And that's that for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.